Wakey wakey, the Kellogg's football camps are back this summer. To claim a free place, grab a promotional pack of Kellogg's cornflakes, Cocoa Pops or Rice Krispies. More information is available via the link in the description of this episode. Would you like to score epic goals like Erling Haaland, Alessia Russo or Kylian Mbappe? Well, look no further than the Score Like a Striker book. The first book in a fantastic new series from the best-selling author Ben Littleton, whose previous books include the likes of 12 Yards, Edge and the smash hit Football School series. If you haven't already, then listen to the episode which I've done with Ben, and a link to buy that very book is in the description of that episode. So, what are you waiting for? Grab yourself a book, listen to that episode, and score like a striker. Score Like a Striker is published by Buffon.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 27th through July 7th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Hello and welcome to PSG Week, where every episode released this week will be on a PSG related subject or player. This isn't a super week, so there won't be 7 episodes over 7 days, but there will be a PSG episode every single time you see a notification for a new episode on the podcast. Now, lots of you commented on Patreon to say, please Darren, can you do an episode on Donnarumma? Well, the answer to that is I already have. I did it about 18 months ago and about 100 episodes ago. So, to save you the hassle of scrolling through all the episodes and trying to find that, let's bring it straight up to the top of the podcast feed. So you can listen to this episode on Gianluigi Donnarumma right now. And this episode will kick things off on PSG Week. And by the way, tomorrow's episode will be a brand new episode on Ousmane Dembele. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. In this episode, we're going to be speaking about the former AC Milan and now PSG goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Before we do that, a big thank you goes to every single one of you who has hit that follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. If you haven't done that already, then please do so now. It'll make sure that you don't ever miss an episode. And in particular, next week you don't want to miss an episode, because next week on the podcast, it's Barcelona week. Every day next week, for 7 days, there will be a Barcelona-related episode. There will be episodes on Barca legends, current players, and much more. So make sure you are following the podcast. Now, before we get into this episode on Donnarumma, let's have a look at a few of your recent Spotify comments, Apple Podcast reviews, and in the Football for Kids website inbox. Now, the first one is a Spotify review Q&A answer, and it's from Isaac. He said, Darren, please do an episode on Mainu. And Darren, can you please give me a shout out? I've been asking since November. I'm Isaac, I'm 10, and I play for Cubs in Old Catton. I'm English and my best friend is Marshall. I'm your biggest fan. Well, Isaac on Spotify, a massive shout out to you. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sending in your message. The next one is a Apple Podcast review from DAVROKING. On Monday it was. It says, big fan, and they give the podcast 5 stars. I'm a massive fan of your podcast. I would love a podcast on Harvey Elliott. Thank you, from Leonard Devine. Well, a massive shout out to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to stick an Apple Podcast 5-star review in there. That is much appreciated. Now, the next one is a message which has come in, and it's a shout out for Bentley, who will be 8 in July, and Bentley plays for the Winklebury Wizards Reds under 8s. So a massive shout out to you, Bentley, and to all of your teammates, including Isaac, George, Leonardo, Frankie, Jasper and Ben. Bentley says, I love listening to your podcast before bed every night. Please can you do a podcast on Pedri? Bentley, thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for being patient and waiting for your shout out. If you want the chance of getting a shout out on the podcast, ask an adult to go to www.footballforkidspodcast.com and fill in a form on the contact page. Let's get into this episode about the Italian goal-saving machine, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Gianluigi Donnarumma was born in Italy in 1999 to his dad Alfonso and his mum Marinella. As a child, Donnarumma was a big football fan, and he was a supporter of Inter Milan apparently. However, the player that he idolised and absolutely loved was Gianluigi Buffon. Buffon was the Panama and Juventus keeper. Donnarumma loved Buffon and his presence on a football pitch. He used to have posters of him in his bedroom, and he was the keeper that he looked up to. Donnarumma was football mad when he was younger, and in his room, everything was football. His walls were painted with football posters by the dozens. Donnarumma grew up with a brother who was a keen footballer and did well as a youth player at AC Milan, and as a senior player for the Italian Giants too. Donnarumma also had an older sister who he has always had a really good relationship with. As he was the youngest out of them all, his sister was really good at looking after him and looking out for him. So, if you've got a younger sibling, try your best to look out for them, because they'll remember it, just like Donnarumma did. Gianluigi Donnarumma grew up playing football in the football academy of ASD Club Napoli. And what the coaching staff remember about him from the moment he was in between the sticks is that he was completely fearless, and that put him into a good place to become a world-class keeper. Donnarumma is now just over 6'5" tall. In fact, he's always been tall, taller than anyone in his year group, taller than all of his schoolmates, and taller than pretty much everyone his age. When Donnarumma was around 10 or 11 years old, the opposite teams would accuse his coaches of cheating and say that he wasn't in the right age group. Mind you, there's not many 10 or 11-year-olds who are over 6 foot. There was no way he's that big and that age, the opposition would say. Donnarumma's mum ended up taking his birth certificate with her in her purse to every game, and more often than not, she would have to get the certificate out to prove his age. Donnarumma has been asked many times about growing up and how he has become the goalkeeper that he is today. And the main ingredient that he talks about is his passion for the game and his passion for playing in goal. Even when he was 5 years old, he always wanted to be playing, training and competing. He just loved it. Donnarumma remembers the times when training would be cancelled or a game would be off due to poor weather and pitch conditions. He said that this would have him in tears. He'd be so upset that he couldn't play or couldn't train. He just loved playing football. Donnarumma is very grateful to the goalkeeping coaches who taught him how to play in between the sticks. And one of those was his uncle, who taught him a lot and was a goalkeeping coach himself. His uncle also coached his brother, and the family are clearly good at catching things. I bet they've not dropped a glass in that house. One of the brothers would die for it and not let it hit the floor. Gianluigi Donnarumma stayed with the training academy he had joined at around 5 years old until he was one of the youngest and most wanted goalkeepers in Italy. It's reported that Juventus, Inter Milan, Fiorentina and Roma were all after him. But he ended up going to the team where his brother Antonio had already played, and that was, of course, AC Milan. Donnarumma played for a couple of years in the youth academy at AC Milan, and the very tall and explosive teenager was seriously impressing the coaching staff at all levels throughout the club. So much so that when he was 15 years old, he got his first call up to the first team. 15, and he was considered good enough to play for AC Milan, one of the biggest football teams in the world. That was quite simply incredible. In the end, Donnarumma remained on the bench but could have been called upon at any moment, and this was something which the head coach was not worried about at all. The AC Milan coach at the time said he wasn't bothered about age, he was bothered by the ability of a player, and Donnarumma had bags of ability. It wasn't long before Donnarumma was making regular appearances, and when he was 16 years old, at the iconic San Siro Stadium in Italy, he became the second youngest goalkeeper to start in the Italian top division. You're probably wondering who the youngest was. Well, the youngest was a keeper called Giuseppe Sacchi, who coincidentally made the record of becoming the youngest goalkeeper to ever play in Serie A on the same day 73 years earlier. Between Donnarumma and Sacchi, there are only 13 days difference in their birth dates, meaning if Donnarumma was born just 2 weeks before, he would have held the record. Donnarumma went from making regular appearances for AC Milan to becoming the first choice for nearly every game. He saved penalties, he saved shots from some of the best players in the world, and he gave the team confidence even at such a young age. And at times, he even took up the role of wearing the captain's armband. After 6 seasons playing with AC Milan, it was time for a change and a time for a move. Not to another Italian club though, but a complete move to a different country. And he went to France and to Paris to join the most successful team of the most recent decade, which was PSG. In Donnarumma's debut for the club, PSG won 4-0. And the clean sheet was very much thanks to some unbelievable goalkeeping by the Italian. He then made his Champions League debut for PSG, beating Manchester City 2-0, keeping yet another clean sheet. The PSG coaches, owners and fans were very quickly becoming big fans of the Italian number 1. Over the years, Donnarumma has worn the shirt with the number 99 on the back. Do you know why? If you had said because that's the year he was born in, you would have been correct. At PSG, Donnarumma played with some of the best in the world, including Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe and Neymar, just to name a few. I guess they aren't a bad bunch to be training with. If you can save goals from those three, well, it's good training for playing against pretty much anyone else in the world. PSG have only lost 1 game so far this season, and Donnarumma would have been a big part of those results, and he seems to be a very happy man playing in the French top division. Apart from towering above people on the pitches in club football, he's been a sensational keeper for the Italian team, and he's been representing his country of Italy since the under-15s. He was the first choice goalkeeper in the under-17s Euros, and England fans will very much remember him at the Euro 2020 tournament, when Italy beat England at Wembley on penalties. Donnarumma saved 2 penalties of England's. On that day, it was heartache for England, but Donnarumma became a legend of Italian football. I hope that you've enjoyed listening and learning about the story and career of Gianluigi Donnarumma so far. For a 25-year-old, he has already had some unbelievable success, and as long as he's injury-free and he wants to continue playing, he will have many, many more years at the top level of football. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time. Oh, And adults, if you wouldn't mind just taking 30 seconds out of your day to share the show on your own social media, or if you're in any WhatsApp groups for your kids' football or school stuff, that would be extremely helpful. And honestly, I would genuinely appreciate it so very much. Please tag me in anything. If you're doing it on Instagram, I am Darren Rees _. Thank you so much if you do take the time to do it.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.